I was a cast member at Walt Disney World for 5 years. I had to slam the emergency stop so a kid didn't get run over and die, and this is a cast member story. In previous episodes, I talked where I worked at Flight of Passage and Space Mountain, and if you thought that would be where I hit the emergency stop, well, you would be wrong. It was at, of all places, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Now, I never initially signed up to work at this attraction, but because of COVID and the pandemic and everyone getting moved around, I was sent there for a temporary time while Disney was trying to reopen different parts of the park. Well, when I went to Winnie the Pooh, you learn the Mad Tea Party attraction and Winnie the Pooh at the same time because they're so close to each other, and really they're not going to teach someone the Mad Tea Party ride by itself. It's too simple and too easy runs of an attraction for it to just be that single one. So instead, when you work at Winnie the Pooh, you actually work at Teacups as well, and you go back and forth. It's called a rotation. Basically, you clock in here, and then you just go down the line until you get your break, and you get pulled, then you get put back somewhere else, and you end up somewhere, right? Well, Winnie the Pooh, of all rides, has a very weird safety system. So Winnie the Pooh has things that are called pressure mats. They are little things that are going to be around the track, and that stuff on the track, it allows, if someone gets off the ride or falls or something's dropped, the pressure gets hit, and we know that someone's out on the ride. And it works in the sense that it's great to know if someone's out there. If it's a certain amount of pressure, you know the ride's going to stop. Sometimes there's little water bottles and stuff that hit it and it'll freak it out that it doesn't actually stop the ride. But if you're a person, it knows. This is used on a lot of the older attractions, a lot of stuff over in Disneyland for some of their dark rides. It uses these pressure mats and sensors and stuff like that to be able to check without having to rewire the entire building and have someone stare at security cameras when, to be honest, it's not really needed because you're just sitting down in a slow-moving vehicle. So, Winnie the Pooh has this weird aspect where people just like to stand up on the ride or try to get out of the ride early or just do things that you're not supposed to do on a ride. And it seems weird. You think, how often could it be that you really have to, slam the brakes? Now, I do gotta explain there's two types. We have emergency brakes, which stops the entire attraction. Every ride on the track, done, stopped, immediately slam the brakes. We also have things that are called station stops. What that means is the vehicle that's coming in to unload, the vehicles at unload, the vehicles at load, and the very first vehicle that's heading out into the track, all of them stop. It's very, very normal to hit a station stop when you work at a ride. At Space Mountain, it happens probably once every 10 minutes. At Winnie the Pooh, it happens probably once every 5 minutes. And what's crazy is for Space Mountain, it kind of makes sense. It's a big time attraction. Things are moving around. It's chaotic in a good way, a controlled way, but still chaotic. Winnie the Pooh. Please, next time you're at the ride, pay attention to this. It's so funny while also a little irritating. People are just not super smart when it comes to that ride. And I don't know what it is. When they get off the ride, you would think, head towards the exit. You would be blown away at the amount of people that don't immediately see an exit and think they have to turn back around and head right towards the track. There's no sign of that. There's no reason you should ever do that, but it happens, constantly. It is probably 99% of the reason that Winnie the Pooh goes down. At least 99% of the time. It is people thinking that they have to head towards the track or that they can stand up early before the vehicle even stops moving and that they can get off the ride. I don't know why that is. I don't know of this at other attractions. I don't know if that's a more common thing for dark rides, but it happens, all the time. I worked at Winnie the Pooh for basically a year straight, and it happens numerous times a day. So, on this specific occasion, we have people coming into the unload section, and if you know about Winnie the Pooh at Walt Disney World, there's 2 vehicles that can sit at unload at one time, and 2 vehicles that can sit at load. Now, for most attractions, when you're getting onto a ride, we have a gate that is shut, and we wait until you walk up to the gate, and then the gate opens when the ride's there, right? But when you're getting off, we don't have the vehicle stop, and then a gate opens to get you off. It's just a platform. Because of that, when there's 2 vehicles, sometimes one vehicle's in the platform and a second one is still coming in. Well, these people in the first vehicle, they can get off early, and we have a little yellow line on the ground that we know, hey, once the people are past that, the ride's good to move, we can send that vehicle out. It lets us be more efficient if people get out really quick and they head towards the exit quick. There's a problem. Sometimes we have one vehicle and people get out of this vehicle and decide, oh, let's not go to the exit, let's go to where the next vehicle should come and step into the track. And you're thinking, people don't actually step into the track. Yes, they do. They will take a full-on 3-foot drop straight into the track twice a month, once a month. It's weird. I saw it happen there numerous times. But I was never the person that had to hit the emergency stop. Again, before this, I worked at Space Mountain for an entire year in Flight of Passage for about 8 months. 2 major attractions with huge safety concerns. Again, not dangerous, but you want to be careful and you want to really pay attention. So you always want people to be safe, right? You'd think that's the ride where the emergency stop would be hit. And of course, when I worked at those attractions, emergency stops, station stops, things like that were hit. I just never had to do it. And it is normal for an attractions cast member to eventually have to hit that button. So of all places to do it, I had to do it on Winnie the Pooh. We have a little vehicle coming in. Shouldn't say little, they're all the same size, but we have a vehicle coming in with a family member. Totally normal. We've got a kid sitting up. If they're sitting on a parent's lap, it's okay, but sometimes they'll be full on standing up in the seat. Again, common, I'd say maybe 1 out of every 20 vehicles, the kid is standing up in the vehicle. It is not safe. You're not supposed to do that. So we hit the station stop. Again, very normal. A station stop, you can hit it, tell people to sit down, recover the ride, nothing happens. It's so common for all rides to do that. But an emergency stop is different. Well, this kid was coming in. We see him, station stop. Hey, make sure, hey buddy, you yell over to him. Sit down, sit down. They go, okay, no problem, whatever. Pull it back up, send the ride. Who cares? They pull into the station. Great. And then this kid stands up again. That's normal. They're getting off the ride. I don't think twice about it. When you're going to go over and check some of the vehicles, because we like to check them for lost and found every once in a while if you have the opportunity, it's great to be able to grab it when the people are there instead of discovering it a couple minutes later and then there's this whole procedure, right? So I stand there, I've got my hand on the station stop. You always have your hand on the station stop until both vehicles are fully parked. That way you know vehicles aren't moving. Someone would have to be crazy to jump into the track, which again, they do. But in this case, they weren't. I just had my hand waiting there to have the next vehicle come in. This family is getting off. Everybody's gotten off. We've got dad, who's got a little kid with him. We've got mom, and then next to mom is this little boy, probably 4 years old. Now, I'm not blaming the kid. It's not their fault they don't understand the safety standards. Basically, all of Walt Disney World is a gigantic playground to them. That's fine. But the parents, you've got to pay attention. And people get on vacation brain and just bloop. It goes out of their mind, and they don't think about it. Mom gets off the ride, dad and the other kid get off the ride, and this kid sits on top of the Winnie the Pooh vehicle. Now that's a problem, because you don't sit on top of the Winnie the Pooh vehicles because the only option is to fall off to your left onto where you're supposed to go, where you get off, or fall off onto your right to go onto the track, or you could do what this kid did. He whipped his legs around and turned around so he was looking over the back of the honey pot. It's a bench sheet, and then a bench sheet, and then just to the track. Feet hang over, and I go, oh, hey buddy, and I go literally like this to reach out and be like, hey. Now, I couldn't have grabbed him from this distance. It's more of me just trying to grab his attention, like, hey, don't go that way. Mom goes, She turns around. By this time, kid goes, whoop, like a slide, off the back of the vehicle, straight into the track. There is no other option at this point. This kid is now standing on a track that is moving gigantic vehicles that have a ton of weight to them and carrying people. I, for the first time ever, get this dropping heart moment and go, whoop, reach over, push down the button, boom! Emergency, stop, ride is down, lights come off, the spiel, Tigger starts talking, whoa, we're gonna be stuck on the track, all that stuff. So that's it, ride's down, we're broken. This means immediately we know we're gonna have to call maintenance, we know we're gonna have to call managers, we're going to have to dump the line. All of that is included. Now, again, it's called an emergency stop because this is an emergency. A kid slid off the back of a vehicle and went into the track. So you need to do that for his safety. But it's just, of all the rides, of all the places I worked, all the things I did, it was a kid sliding backwards like a slide off the back of a Winnie the Pooh honey pot into the track and causing the ride to go down. And we were down. We got the kid out of the track. In fact, the mom jumped down into the track to go and get him, which is also a huge no, but I understand as a parent, I would have done the same thing. My kid's down there, the ride has stopped. I would have jumped down to grab my kid. You're not supposed to, but let's be honest, parents would have done it. So she goes down and grabs her kid and they get out and they just leave. We try to ask people to stop sometimes, but we can't detain them. We're not a prison, so if they don't want to stay, they don't have to stay. We try to get our best description of them. We say, hey, this family did this, blah, blah, blah. In case they say later they want to sue because they say if they got electrocuted in the track, they can't. But in case they say they want to, now we know what they look like, hopefully, and of course Disney has footage around the park. If they really need to, they can find them. But then, of course, we have managers, coordinators, our proprietor, everybody comes to the ride and is like, what happened? I explain the process, and then we get to go and stare at our 45-minute to an hour line and say, none of you are riding. Of course, Disney's pretty good about this. We then give out lightning lanes and we allow people to come back later to go on the attraction. We can get it back up. But it does stink because there were people that had literally just sat down and put on their thing, moved 2 feet, and ride stopped. If you're on the track, it's pretty cool. You kind of get to walk around and get to see Winnie the Pooh with the lights on. You get to kind of see some of the vehicles and how stuff works. You do get to walk onto the track, and we actually get you out of the vehicle, so that's pretty cool. If you're stuck in certain sections, maintenance has got to push you to a safer area that we can get you off. So for those people, if you're a big Disney fan, it's pretty awesome when a ride gets emergency stopped, and you can see that behind the scenes. But for everybody else, and anyone that was in the park that wanted to go on Winnie the Pooh, there goes at least an hour of operation of our entire day. So if we're open for 10 hours, literally 10% of the day is gone because a kid slid off the back of a honey pot. It's weird. It happens. It's all for the safety. But I'll tell you this right now. Having worked at numerous rides in numerous parks, when you see a ride go down at Walt Disney World, and I'm sure the same is for SeaWorld, Universal, and other parks, but when you see a ride go down at Walt Disney World, I guarantee you, 85% chance it was a guest's fault. Not trying to blame you all, but I also am. It's your fault. It happens. Try not to be stupid. Accidents happen. We want to be safe. Mistakes. That's okay. That's totally fine. But I would honestly say 85% of the time, it has to do with the guest either taking too long to get off, taking too long to get on, people getting confused, people wanting to change stuff, people standing up. It's human error, right? That's the same reason we get traffic. So rides go down, things happen, and I had to emergency stop a ride because a kid wanted to use a honey pot as a slide. And that's a cast member story.